In this video, we're going to talk about how to throw a bowl with a view from the front. I always want to start with my ball rounded at the bottom, because if I were to slam it against the bat with some inconsistencies, then when I go to wire cut it and flip it to trim, I'm going to run into those inconsistencies. So I always start by tapping my clay round, and on a dry bat, with dry hands, I just make sure it's secured to the bat. And I am using these black Molly Sanyour ceramic speedball bats that have the double diameter holes that go right over your bat pin. And I like these square ones because they take up less space when you're throwing. Before we get into throwing, what makes a bowl, it's the interior curve and the top inch. That the top inch is thin enough because when you flip it, you'll attach it with a lug of clay. So again, when you're throwing a bowl, it happens fast. You're just looking for an interior continuous curve, and the top inch or two is thin enough. If it feels thick, you give it another squeeze. Now in the other video, I went more over coning up and down, where you're kind of leaning. The boss hand, the thumb, is flexed. You're using the meat under that thumb. The right hand's always connected to the boss. And to cone down, I press that pressure with my right fingertips all the way to the base of the clay. And from there, I can cone up by squeezing the width of the clay into my left palm, get all the way to the top, and rotate, rotate, rotate. Slow release. To cone down, my left hand's still the boss, holding the clay at the top. Thumb is flexed. It's never on this side. Fingers are never gripping in. It's flexed and open, and the palm here is just supporting that clay. The right hand's holding a wet sponge so it doesn't get stuck on me. I can wring out more water as I need it. And as I make a fist around that clay, I patiently press the clay down with my right fist. The left hand securing it while the right hand presses patiently. As I get close to the bat, you don't want to have a flat cone. If you're going to cone back up, you need a cone. So at this point, you need to drop the pressure with the right hand from the top all the way to the bottom. In this method, I took my palm and I dropped my right hand down like a prayer hand to create pressure from the top to the bottom. Another method is just to take the fingertips of the right hand, latch it onto the boss left hand, and lean that pressure from the top patiently to the bottom. My fingertips are about 230 and my palm is about 630, and they're squeezing into each other to move that clay up and down. And coning up and down on the wheel is like wedging on the wheel. So if you're not sure if you wedged enough, just go ahead and cone up a few times, and then it also pretty much centers the clay for you. So at this point, my clay is feeling smooth and pretty much centered. So we will actually push it to that centered form where the left hand's anchored up, pressing into the side wall of this kind of hockey puck shape of clay. The right hand's karate chopping, cutting across the center diameter of the circle of clay. Hold it where you want it and rotate, rotate, rotate. Now for a bowl, I like to open with a wide lip. For a cylinder, we keep it narrow. So this is how I open for a bowl. These three fingers work together to find the center and drill in. I do like a wet sponge over those fingers so they don't get dry. My left hand is still there, and my right hand's always connected. So these fingers are going to drill in. I let it rotate and I drill. I let it rotate and I drill. When I think I'm just low enough to the wheel head, these fingers are going to pull back while the left hand secures its centeredness. Without the left hand leaning, you get kind of off center. So if you get off center, lean, hold it. Drop this little thumb on the top lip as well. Hold it from the inside, the outside, on top. And if you ever get it off center like that, just hold it there, inside, on top. And just anchor up, elbows against your body, rotate, rotate, rotate. All right? At this time, you can tend to your bottom. Once you've opened it wide enough, think about however wide this transition is how wide it's going to sit on your table. So if you're going to put hot soup in it, don't make it a little narrow bottom. I can wring my sponge out at this point, hold it with both hands, elbows against my body, reach the center of the clay, and slowly go over to the right to 3 o'clock, and I can come up, and then go back down and press a little harder. And this compressing of the bottom of the clay also ensures that continuous smooth curve. After I do it a few times, I can hold on tight and go all the way over to 9 o'clock. But the way the wheel spins, you kind of want to work over here at 3 o'clock so it goes right through your hands. All right, we've centered, we've opened, we've established the bottom. Now we're ready to pull. When we pull, the right hand's the boss. I'm going to add a little water. Right hand anchors up, and you always start with this flared out clay at the base. So the right hand leans into that. Meanwhile, a bowl always comes from the interior curve. So that inside hand is responsible for pressing out and then coming up and up. For a cylinder, we start here and we squeeze up and in. But for a bowl, we glide over. And when you feel the clay between your fingertips, the inside hand presses out and then they come up together. Okay, the right hand's holding on tight. That water helped. And as I get to the top, I like to put this little finger right on top just to compress that lip, which let's do again here. Left hand holds the clay. Right hand with a sponge can just touch those fingers and the clay and let it rotate, rotate, rotate. Rotate as many times to get it smooth. So at this point, we could pretty much consider this done, because when you throw a bowl, again, you're asking yourself two questions. Is there an interior curve if we were to slice this in half? And is the top inch or two thin enough? Well, let's get one more pull because I see this flared out clay. Anchored up against my body, right hand at the base, leaning on that clay, inside hand connects, and the inside left hand pushes out and up. Both fingers are squeezing at that base. Now they kind of relax. The left hand's going to compress that lip all in once. Rotate, rotate, slow release. So from here we have our continuous curve. I'm going to get this dry on the bottom, and then this could be done, but let's take it a step further. Let's use our rib tools for shaping. For a bowl, I specifically love a yellow flimsy rib with a matching curve of a green stiffer rib on the inside. It looks like this. I'm at 3 o'clock on the right-hand side. The way the wheel spins, it cuts right through the tools that way. The right hand, both elbows against my body, is going to hold the green rib flaring away. So as the wheel spins under it, it can just go smoothly. If I were to come over here to the left at 9 o'clock, it gets caught every time. So I go on to the right of center, make connection, and patiently I'm going to let this rib tool press out into the wall. So I'm holding it still and pressing out. And once I feel like it needs some support to press back to really transfer this nice rounded continuous curve to the inside wall, I can use this rib, squeeze it to make it bend, and I can put it right against it. And from here, it's patience. Really kind of gently squeeze those ribs together in a way that just transfers that smooth edge of the rib to the surface of the wall. Rotate, rotate, slow release. And now I have a beautiful continuous curve. I can wring out my sponge, smooth the bottom, smooth anything else, maybe smooth the slip one more time. And then finally, let's talk about the wooden knife. Wooden knife and needle tool are great for pre-trimming or cutting away any extra clay at the base that you don't want to have to trim later. It also helps give a groove to where you can get the wire cutter under it next time. So to use the wooden knife, you hold it however you hold a pencil, and then you back your hands up about halfway down the back end of it. Both hands hold it tight, elbows against your body, and you're at the right at 3 o'clock. And the way the wooden knife works is this is the blade. It cuts on this diagonal sharp side. So you're holding it tight, both hands to the right, and you let it spin, and you use that tip of the knife just to touch it and make a circle on the exterior bottom of the bowl. And as it spins, you hold on tight and you press a little more. You let it spin, you hold on tight, you press a little more. If it feels stuck, add a little water down this wooden rib, and it will fall into that groove and just keep things sliding along. So hold on tight. You're in the groove. You let it rotate. You press a little bit, and then there we are. We're at the bat. When you're at the bat, you stop. You take your needle tool, clean it off, cut through that little ring of clay, and then all the way underneath. Extra clay comes off. That's less to trim later. You can smooth it up a little bit with a sponge. And there we go. That's how you throw a bowl. Hope this helps. Stay tuned for the next video, how to trim a bowl.